So usually we're used to dealing with um, two dimensions when we're looking at problems. Might be looking at a line. We're quite used to this saying x and y to the sky, etc. But in real life, we don't live in two dimensions. We actually live in a three-dimensional world. So how do you deal with this when you'll be looking at a bit of paper, which is essentially two dimensions? It's a two-dimensional object that's trying to represent a three-dimensional thing. Well, you might be asked about vectors that are moving in three dimensions, which is basically any real life situation will move in three dimensions. So we're going to have to introduce a new dimension, well, not a new dimension, like a different dimension. I'm trying to show here. It's called the z dimension or the z dimension, depending on what you want to call it. Right, here we are. So this is the way you'll probably see it in your books or anywhere else. The z dimension basically is the dimension out of the page or up the page. So everything's the same except you have your x along here. Instead of your y pointing up, it is still pointing up in the y direction, but now we have this third dimension z that's going to come out of the page and talk about height and things like that. So you might see it in your things here, where instead of having x and y, you can think this has almost been tilted down. That's almost been tilted down, and then the z dimension has just kind of been flipped up out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere, it's just we're looking directly at it here. We're looking directly, you can think of this, we're looking directly down onto this. Draw an eye. Not very good at drawing, as you've probably realized. We're looking directly down onto this, and now it's been tilted, so we're now looking at this like this now. Okay, now this will go on to a new subject that we need to learn about, which is the base vectors, which I'll talk about in the next lesson.